www.gbcghanaonline.com or on our Facebook page.
Great. On our first story, on Tuesday, a team from the Electoral Commission, led by its chairperson, Mrs. Jean Mensah, met with Parliament's Special Budget Committee to give a summary of its plan for the 2020 general elections. Issues discussed included compilation of a new voters register and synchronization of NIA and EC data.
According to a deputy chairman of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Bosman Asare, the commission has grouped its 33,000 centers into clusters and will carry out the registration nationwide. This translates into each cluster accommodating more than 6,000 centers.
Phase 1 of the registration will be in 20% of the registration centers or the polling centers, and that phase 1 will constitute about 6,000 registration centers. So when we move to phase 2 we are going to have that same number of registration centers. So what this actually means is that we are going to register at every registration center. So by the end of the phases, every registration center would have been captured. So when we begin and we are not yet at your place, just wait for us. The commission will get there and you'll be registered. Phase 1, we are going to tackle 20% of the registration centers. Phase 2, 20%. Phase 3, 20%. Phase 4, 20%. Phase 5, 20%. And that gives us 100%. Then when we finish all, and we also will have a mop-up. The UC hasn't said we are using the NIA data. The NIA card is only a form of identification to establish one's Ghanaian. If you are Ghanaian, it establishes that. So just like the passport, that's what it's basically doing. And the commission has said severally that anyone who doesn't have the Ghana card or the passport, 2 people who are already registered to vote will guarantee for you. And once you are a registered voter, you qualify to guarantee for up to 10 individuals.
And after that interaction with the EC, the minority leader, Mr. Haruna Yusuf, said the commission's decision to cancel the registration exercise at some 6,000 centers will affect elections in the December polls.
To paraphrase her words, they intend to phase out the registration exercise in some 6,300 registration centers out of the 33,000 registration centers across the country. That troubles my heart because Article 42 will not be observed in essence through making available to Ghanaian people a legitimate and guaranteed right they are entitled to under Article 42. The second matter, which is even more worrying, she does not seem to understand the essence of data synchronization and data harmonization. In her answers to a simple question, she stated, I'm paraphrasing again, they do not intend to use the data of the National Identification Authority. So what will they do with National ID card? What is even more worrying is that they say they have procured a biometric voter management system, a biometric voter registration system, and biometric voter verification system. They should make them available for inspection. And our committee should take interest in the coming days to inspect them.
On his part, the majority leader, Mr. Ose Che-Mensah, justified the EC's $6.1 million reconstruction of a new center, which he deems is more cost-effective as compared to a similar project which cost $4 million per year for 4 years.
Charlotte Osei Commission indicated to us in 2016 that the data center needed to be completely refurbished because the system had expired. We're going to do refurbishment. they've entered into a contract. Not Charlotte Say, but Afarijan had entered into a contract with the people who built the center. And every year, the cost of refurbishment was $4 million from 2012 to 2018. $4 million. Here we have a new commission that is reconstructing a new center at a cost of 6.1 million. And he says there's no justification. Clearly, it should tell us what kind of, should I say, racketeering that was going on there. $4 million to refurbish a system, and a new one is going to cost us 6.1 million, and you say there's no justification for that. And indeed, maintenance built into it is about 1.3 million. So in total, it's 7.4 million for 3 years, including maintenance. When the cost of refurbishing the old system is costing this country $4 million every year, there's no justification. If this is not sufficient justification to him, then I don't know what else we can be talking about.
In response,
Ghana on Tuesday joined the continental body to commemorate the African Union Day of the African Child, marked every 16th of June. It is to salute black school children who participated in protests in South Africa on the 16th of June in 1976 to demand their right to be taught in their own language and register their displeasure about the poor quality of their education. Ghana marked the event with the theme Access to Child-Friendly Justice System in Ghana.
The African Union Day of the African Child was first initiated by the Organization of African Unity, now African Union, in 1991 to honor about 10,000 black students who took part in demonstrations in response to the introduction of Afrikaans as a medium of instruction in local schools on 16th June 1976. Hundreds of students were killed, including 13-year-old Hector Peterson, and more than 1,000 were injured on that day. This event, which is known as the SOWETO UPRISING, is set aside by the African Union on the day to discuss the challenges and opportunities facing the full realization of rights of children in Africa. Ghana marked the day with the theme Access to a Child-Friendly Justice System in Ghana. All speakers are served and protected by the justice system. Standard court proceedings must be modified to make them more child-friendly. They called on African governments to prioritize the welfare of the African child to realize their full potential. The judge in charge of the Gender-Based Violence Court, Mrs. Christina Khan, said when children come before the court as victims, witnesses, accused and complainants, it is fundamental that they are met with a judicial system that understands and respects their rights.
In this regard, the Judicial Service, with the help of other partners, has established 3 specialized courts where issues concerning children are dealt with. These are the Juvenile Court, which hears cases involving children in conflict with the law, the Family Tribunal Court, which deals with disputes relating to parentage, custody, access, maintenance, care and protection for children, and quite recently the Child-Friendly Gender-Based Violence Court, which is the first of its kind in West Africa. It is specially designed for children to feel less overwhelmed by the trial and more confident to speak more freely.
The Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Mrs. Cynthia Morrison, said the government is working with other development partners to provide the needed support to improve the country's justice system with regards to cases involving children.
The introduction of the Justice for Children policy in 2016 marked a landmark of the change in our justice system, with an overall goal to improve access to justice for children in line with the acceptable standards, values, and beliefs of the formal and community justice system. Standard operating procedures for children has also been developed and is being implemented by the Ghana Police Service.
The occasion coincided with the 30th anniversary of the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child.
As part of preventive measures against COVID-19, the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, says wearing of nose masks is now mandatory. He said the police are authorized to ensure this is complied with to the letter. GBC News visited some areas in Greater Accra to assess the observance of announced measures to prevent the spread of the coronavirus.
It is a well-known fact that the entire world is no longer in normal times as nations across the globe battle with the COVID pandemic. As Ghana's COVID infection cases keep rising, the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, has urged Ghanaians to practice frequent hand washing with soap and under running water, use of hand sanitizers often, frequent cleaning of surfaces, keeping a social distance of 2 meters, eating natural and healthy foods, as well as wearing of face masks while at public places. A drive through most communities in Ashaiman, Pram and Old and New Ningo in the Greater Accra regions shows a different picture. Most people were not observing the anti-COVID protocols. Our cameras captured these young men at Old Ningo, closely seated with no regard to social distancing and also without nose masks. The situation was not different in the market and at the lorry stations in Ningo Pram. GBC News spoke with some residents who were not observing the protocols. Apart from wearing unprescribed nose masks and handling them wrongly, some people have complained that they feel uncomfortable wearing the nose masks while others keep recycling dirty ones. The health advisor at the Ghana Red Cross Society, Mr. Peter Jete, in an interview with GBC News, took us through the importance of obeying the anti-COVID protocols.
We should not forgo our face mask. We need to use our face mask anytime we are moving out of our household. Please, irrespective of how difficult you see it to be, we still have to use it. Secondly, we need to use hand sanitizer. This is my hand sanitizer as a demonstration. Just take a little bit and then mop out of it. Take all the viruses or anything that you have taken in case you touch any surface.
The Tema Metropolitan Director of the National Commission for Civic Education, NCCE, Mr. Isaac Kojo Entry, said the existence and the negative impact of the virus on human lives as well as the economy cannot be downplayed.
The suffering that people are going through these days, you go to some businesses and the business is not performing because some people are not coming out because the virus has made it impossible for others to go through or to go by their businesses. Importers are no more importing certain items to the country. So I think that we should all help ourselves.
Mr. Entry further urged all Ghanaians to adhere to the laid down protocols by the President in order to save lives.
As final year students in tertiary institutions return to their lecture halls to prepare for their exit examinations, all foreign students who return to complete their courses will be required to serve the 14-day mandatory quarantine before they are allowed back on campus. Deputy Minister for Information, Mr. Pius Hajide, said this on GBC's Current Affairs program, #AskTheInfo Ministry, earlier today.
But there are foreign students who are flying into the country.
Anybody who comes into the jurisdiction, these days foreign students, those ones will have to be quarantined.
And that will take time from their lesson time.
Well, they have to meet the protocols that we discussed earlier under evacuations.
Okay.
And so when they are coming in as evacuees, if they are coming in as returnees, the protocols that relate to returnees will apply to them.
The nose mask and sanitizer distribution, the question was, will the teachers make sure the students get it, and how will we know that they have distributed them to the students?
Beyond the confidence that we have in the teachers and the headmasters and management of these schools, there is going to be strict supervision of these things, and the district directorates of education will be involved, the regional directorates will be involved, and then the various district COVID-19 teams headed by the district executives will also ensure a strict compliance. There are evacuations that are going to happen from now even until the end of the year, but immediately between the 17th and the 21st we are expecting about some 400 persons. Around the 19th we are also expecting some 13 people from Burkina Faso. We are also expecting some 195 returnees, our compatriots from Lebanon on that 19th. We are working with China, we are working with the American authorities both in Washington and New York to, by the end of this month, bring in some 856 of our compatriots as well. We shall keep updating as and when these decisions are arrived at. These are bilateral engagements. You cannot go into another country when their borders are closed and just move people. You have to have bilateral engagements, that border even on flight passage and landing rights and all of those, so they can open their airports for you. In those countries where the borders are still closed, they will still have to open the borders for you and give you landing rights to be able to do the evacuation. Sometimes people may need travel documents. You need bilateral action to get those travel documents as well. As and when these discussions terminate and decisions are made.
Now, and at Koforidua, some tertiary institutions have partially reopened for their final exams. The news team reports that most institutions have the safety measures in place to prevent the spread of the COVID-19.
Students and lecturers at the Koforidua Technical University were required to observe strict safety protocols. Those who failed to observe the protocols were prevented from entering the lecture halls. The Vice-Chancellor of the university, Professor David Isuman, said the school was fumigated at the weekend and that they have also received personal protective equipment provided by government to the various universities. He said each student will receive 5 nose masks and hand sanitizers produced by the school.
Parents should be rest assured that those of us here, we're also going to insist on the protocols and make sure that students don't put their lives into any situation that will affect them.
The Dean of the Faculty of Business and Management Studies at the Koforidua Technical University, Dr. Samuel Adai Boateng, explained how the classes have been divided to avoid overcrowding.
I have 325 students, so now we have 7 groups, and I meet each group 3 hours per session. That has increased the number of teaching hours that I have to do per week.
The news team visited the lecture to observe sitting arrangement. 2 of the students, Miss Hannah Ofebia Amodakon, a mechanical engineering student, and Mr. Emmanuel Edufudakon, a business management student, spoke to the news team on the safety protocols they went through before entering the lecture halls.
Our school are complying with the laid down rules set by the government in place. As we enter into school, we've gone through the laid down procedures of washing our hands with the provided Veronica buckets. Then we have our temperatures checked at the various points.
This morning, as I was coming to school, at the main gate we were asked to wash our hands, and before entering you have to put on your nose mask first. Then after that they use the thermometer gun to check our temperatures before coming in. And before coming to any class too, there are Veronica buckets all around for you to wash your hands too.
At the Seventh-day Adventist College of Education, officials told the news team that the final year students will return to campus on the 22nd of this month, as the school is still putting measures in place to receive them. The registrar of the All Nations University College, Reverend Adriana Ayn, said the final year student will not report to campus as the school is conducting online exams for them. Shareva said the school has received PPE from the government and has also been fumigated to prevent the spread of diseases.
And on Tuesday, about 6 organizations donated to the COVID-19 National Trust Fund. The lead trustee, Justice Sophia Akufo, received the support for its work.
The Church of Christ presented a check for 100,000 Ghana cedis. An elder of the Nsawam congregation, Mr. Samson Esimin, represented the church. Transit Cargo Limited, through his managing director, Mr. Abdul Rahman Hussein, donated 35,000 Ghana cedis. Mushroom growers and exporters and Alpha Mushroom Clusters of Ghana, led by their secretary, presented 1,000 Ghana cedis. The National Pensions Regulatory Authority had a check for 215,000 Ghana cedis for the fund. The organization's chief executive, Mr. Hayford Atakrofi, said his organization will continue to support the national effort to eliminate the virus. Universal Pan-African Coalition of Ghana had 86,000 Ghana cedis to cushion the fund. AVIC International Holding Corporation, a global diversified holding business group under the control of the Aviation Industry Corporation of China, was also at the COVID-19 Trust Fund office with a donation of 12,000 face masks, 140 goggles and 100 packs of gloves. The lead trustee, Justice Sophia Akufo, thanked the organizations for their support.
The chairman of the Council of State and paramount chief of Asante Juabeng, Nana Otuo-Sribo, has donated essential medical supplies, including a ventilator machine, to the Juabeng Government Hospital.
The items were donated to Nana Otuo-Sribo by the chairman and chief executive officer of Whitechapel Holdings, Mr. Daniel Ofori, to be donated to the hospital. There was a ventilator machine, 30 thermometer guns, hand sanitizers, and boxes of face masks. The Achamihe of Juabeng Traditional Council, Nana Eje Champo, said the council is supporting the hospital in this critical time. The registrar at the Juabeng Traditional Council, Mr. Kweku Ankuma Asari, appealed to all to continue to observe all protocols at all times. The medical superintendent of the hospital, Dr. Kofi Bua Bosk Hamilton, commended the paramount chief and the entire traditional council for the donation, which he said was very timely. He said since the outbreak of COVID-19, the hospital has recorded 14 suspected cases, and after several tests at KCCR, all came out negative, with 2 patients still awaiting their results.
Now to Sunyani, where Zoom Lion Ghana Limited has begun disinfecting public and private basic and junior high schools in the Bono East and Ahafo regions. The exercise is to stem the spread of the coronavirus.
The exercise, which will last for about a week, will cover facilities in the basic and junior high schools. The Regional Director of Education in Bono East and Ahafo regions, Dr. Peter Tefa, assured parents and guardians that measures are in place to protect the students and pupils against COVID-19. At Ngwaben in Sunyai in the Bono region, a crew of 6 Zoom Lion field officers disinfected the Buahin Koko AB Presby model cluster of Presbyterian schools. The regional manager of Presbyterian schools for the 3 regions, Mr. Eugene Lai, said the schools have task forces in place to enforce the COVID-19 protocols. He reminded parents to prepare food for their children to bring along to school. The writer bureau manager of Zoom Lion Ghana Limited, Robert Kwekweji, said disinfection of about 65 senior high schools in the 3 regions, Bono East and Ahafo, would begin today, Tuesday, June 16, 2020. He said his outfit has disinfected 30 tertiary institutions in the 3 regions.
The National Disinfection and Fumigation Exercise Team has disinfected the Dunko Nursing and Midwifery Training College to reduce the risk of COVID-19 pandemic and also kill other organisms that might have taken over the various lecture halls and hostels as a result of long absence of students from the school.
The
This exercise is part of preparation towards reopening of final year students as announced by the President. Speaking to GBC News, the head of National Disinfection and Fumigation Exercise and General Manager of J.A. Baini Company Limited, Nidodu, says the team fumigated all lecture halls and offices. He further explained that the chemicals used for the fumigation were made available by the Ministry of Health to make sure the facilities are safe for the students returning to school. Meanwhile, the principal of Dunkwa Nursing and Midwifery Training College, Mr. David Benjamin Sampson, said the school is putting all the necessary protocols in place to ensure the safety of students.
Now to the Upper West region, where work on the Dikwe Bridge in the Laura municipality will start before the end of the year. The Minister for Roads and Highways, Mr. Kwesi Amoakwata, says the Ministry of Finance has authorized the execution of the project and steps being taken for Parliament to approve funding for work to start.
Laura is one of the municipalities in the Upper West region and shares borders with Burkina Faso. However, the two are separated by the Black Volta. Economic activities between the two are hampered, particularly when it rains. The government has therefore tabled the construction of a bridge over the Black Volta to facilitate economic activities between Ghana and Burkina Faso. The Minister for Roads and Highways, Mr. Kwesi Amoakwata, his deputy, Mr. Anthony Kabo, and the regional minister, Dr. Hafiz Bin Sali, have visited the proposed site of the bridge at Dikwe. Mr. Amoakwata said the government is determined to start the project before the end of the year.
Under the leadership of the Chief Director, has done the cabinet memo, is going to cabinet. After cabinet, it goes to Parliament for approval. And I can tell you the necessary approvals at these two stages will not unnecessarily be withheld. And we are planning that these bridges, particularly where we are standing now, should start before the close of this year.
The paramount chief of Laura, Na Powole Kabo, was grateful to the government for working towards executing the project. He said the economic and social lives of Ghanaians and Burkinabes will improve when the bridge is constructed.
These were the same community which has been physically separated by this physical barrier. And the interaction between us daily, economically and politically is quite clear. And if you look at history, these things were done in the colonial era. It meant that at that time they were thinking about linking the two communities together. So that is the fundamental reason. Social interaction, economic improvement, and then for the sake of ECOWAS and transnational interaction. I think that is why this road or this bridge is terribly important.
The minister said the construction of bridges at Coulon and Coupon in the Wa East district are almost complete.
On the 3rd of May 2020, GBC News reported the plight of Madam Ya Adonko Akonseligo, who was living in a dilapidated, abandoned structure at Anantiem, a community in the Bogota municipality of the Upper East region. Since that report aired, many individuals and institutions have come to her aid.
In an earlier report, Madam Ya Adongo Agonziligo told GBC News that her husband, Mr. Nsoho, is mentally unstable, threw her and their 4 children out of their home in Kumasi. She also said her family back in the Upper East region rejected her, and therefore she and her 4 children took refuge in this dilapidated structure they call their home. Since then, many individuals and institutions have come to her aid. Key among them are Policy Advisor for the National Commission on Culture, Professor Nick Nana Nketia, Public Relations Officer at the National Commission on Culture, Madam Joanna Otu, Upper East Regional Minister, Mr. Tangoba Abayege, Upper East Regional NADBO Coordinator, Mr. Jerry Asameni, Madam Philomena Ando, a retired pediatric nurse, the Ghana Red Cross Society, among others. GBC Rural Radio in Bolgatanga, led by its acting director, Mr. David Nab, used the money donated through GBC to purchase 20 bags of cement and 2 packets of zinc to help construct a 2-bedroom apartment for Madame Agonziligo and her family. Currently, Mr. Patrick Alangde, who told GBC News about Madame Agonziligo's situation and other partners, have also secured the plot which was given to Madame Agonziligo for free and have also molded blocks to start the building. Out of the money donated through GBC, the family currently has national health insurance cards for the first time. The director of GBC Ura Radio in Bolgatanga, Mr. David Nab, presented the items to Madame Ya Adongo Agonziligo.
We are still appealing to people to come to our aid so as you can get the shelter completed. The children should be educated. So we are appealing to benevolent people to do their best to come to our aid so that we do whatever we can do to make the woman comfortable.
Mr. Patrick Alangde, who is spearheading the construction of the 2-bedroom apartment for Madame Agonziligo and her family, also spoke with GBC News.
We thank everybody for the donation. We thank GTV, their timely support and everything they are doing to aid Maya and the family to be of standard in the community.
The Upper East Regional Manager of the Ghana Red Cross Society, Mr. Paul Woma, donated 1,000 Ghana cedis to Madame Ya Adongo Agonziligo. Madame Agonziligo also thanked individuals and institutions for the gesture. And in Accra, a surveyor, Mr. Cyril Akawalaonu, also donated 500 cedis through GBC News to Madame Agonziligo. All donations to her can be channeled through 0245 700 475 or 0245 124 420.
It's GTP,
the name behind authentic and original Ghanaian textile prints,
and West Africa's leading print and
say online trading and business has shot up due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This has translated into a 5% increase in cyber fraud. The experts are therefore cautioning all to be extra cautious when engaging in any transaction or business online. Bichi Sanaju has more.
Even though the world virtually came to a standstill with the emergence of the coronavirus, Health experts were quick to announce measures to stay safe. With the world reeling under pressure from its effects, it became necessary to change how business is transacted globally. The internet was the perfect choice for business to rebound. One click of a button gave access to in-store for purchases from the most remote locations. Today, about 6 months into the pandemic, many organizations and businesses have also shifted entirely to the use of the internet. Meetings and interacting with employees, for example, are virtual, with many working from home. For cyber security experts, this has opened the floodgate for cyber fraud-related issues. Mr. Kenneth Edu Amanfo is a cybersecurity expert.
Cybersecurity is a global issue and it calls for global effort in dealing with it. And when you take the telcos, they are the custodian of the internet. They manage the internet infrastructure and systems, and government, it's important that government works with the telcos and the businesses alike to make sure that the right cybersecurity policies and strategies are implemented.
He says an attack in cyberspace has no boundaries. He explains that cyber attackers have intensified their activities exploiting individuals transacting business online. Mr. Edua Manfo spoke about the need for all to cross-examine the sites they visit.
Everybody have to be vigilant. You have to know what kind of sites that you go, especially if you are going to a website. Make sure that the website has an HTTPS. If it's an HTTPS, it means it's a secured site that you can go and then you can have a transaction. When you see an email, you receive an email prompt coming to you and you don't know the source, you better don't click it.
Mr. Edouard Manfo said banks are hardly hit in terms of cyber threats. He charged them to employ the right structures and invest in training employees in cybersecurity awareness to protect data and important information from cyber attackers.
In the digital world, it's all about data, and data is very critical. If once you let go, somebody's data, confidential personal data is compromised, it means that person's privacy infringement has been infringed and that person can even sue you.
While asking businesses to invest in cybersecurity tools to protect the data of their customers and cautioning all to be vigilant, he called on government to implement a cybersecurity policy to protect national infrastructure and citizens from cyber attackers. He recommends the use of complex passwords, being careful when downloading apps, and practicing safe surfing and shopping as key to stay safe from attackers in this period. Beatrice Senaju, GBC News, Accra.
Moving on, a financial analyst, Dr. Ebenezer Ashley, says comparatively, the banking and financial sector of Ghana for the first 5 months of the year can be described as resilient and relatively buoyant. Dr. Ashley, who said this during a review of the 2020 budget, added that COVID-19 has hit hard on the economy, but he expects the finance minister, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, when he goes to Parliament next month to present a mid-year budget which will address the physical gaps in the budget.
Sector has not performed badly. Based on the figures we have so far from the Bank of Ghana, the expectations were perhaps beyond what we have. But given the dynamics of COVID-19, we would say the sector is not performing badly. If we want to look at three main variables from the banking subsector, we'll look at the assets of the various banks in the country. If we look at the year-on-year comparison from March 2019 to March 2020, we realize the assets have increased from about 111 billion Ghana cedis to 113 billion Ghana cedis. With regards to the deposits, we also have deposits hiking to about 85 billion from about 67 billion Ghana cedis. The advances to various customers, be it corporate bodies and individuals, have also increased to about 51.9 billion Ghana cedis from about 41 billion Ghana cedis. So if you look at these three key indicators, you realize it is quite obvious that the banking subsector or the financial subsector in general is not performing badly. The expectations were perhaps beyond what we have seen, but some economies are recording negatives in terms of the financial subsector performance. And if we should have this mild progress, then I think it is good. And also, one may expect that under this circumstance, we will have high non-performing loans rate. But fortunately, it has reduced from 18.8% to about 14.5%. What some of us are looking up to is the finance minister taking the opportunity to put together the various pieces of economic information he was able to advance at the beginning or the outset of COVID-19. 1st April, we had a dramatic change in the earlier fiscal policies we have, and also there were follow-ups with reviews with regards to our sources of funding, and then the need for fiscal gap to be made known to Ghanaians. How we would finance the fiscal gap.
Other news: to reaffirm its status as the biggest cement producer in Africa, Dangote Cement has set the pace with the exportation of 27,800 metric tons of clinker to Senegal. The exportation of clinker from the Dangote Cement Export Terminal will also place Nigeria as one of the leading clinker exporters in the world. Historic maiden voyage from its export terminal located in Apapa Port, Lagos weekend. Dangote has gradually made Nigeria, which until recently was one of the world's largest bulk importers of cement, first self-sufficient in cement production and now an exporter of cement clinker to other countries. The company is expected to increase the quality of clinker exports to other African countries within the next few weeks. It was further linked. It said this development would enable Dangote Cement take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area and by so doing contribute to the improvement of intra-regional trade within the ECOWAS region. Management of the company says Nigeria is the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, MAN, has therefore commended Dangote Cement for leading the way for Nigeria to become one of the biggest cement and clinker exporter in the world. Speaking during the departure of the ship conveying clinker from the export terminal at the weekend, Group Executive Director Dangote Group Alhaji Sada Ladan Baki said the increased importation of clinker and cement to other African countries would not only place Dangote Cement among top clinker exporters in the world, but would also boost Nigeria's foreign exchange earnings and reduce unemployment in the country. And now let's have the performance of the local currency on the interbank market and also the prices of gold, cocoa and light good from the Commodity Board. by worries about a second wave of coronavirus cases.
Were boosted as U.S. stocks opened higher on Tuesday after a record increase in May's retail sales revived hopes of a swift post-pandemic economic rebound, with sentiment also lifted by data showing reduced COVID-19 death rates in a trial of a generic steroid drug. In its monthly report, the IEA forecast oil demand at 91.7 million barrels per day in 2020. 500,000 BPD higher than its estimate in May's report, citing higher than expected consumption during coronavirus lockdowns. Still, the IEA said a fall in flying because of the virus outbreak meant the world would not return to a pre-pandemic demand levels before 2022. Oil supplies in May plunged by nearly 12 million BPD, the IEA said, with the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies, including Russia, a group known as OPEC Plus, reducing their output by 9.4 million BPD. That means OPEC Plus hits 89% compliance with agreed cuts in May. OPEC Plus agreed this month to extend production cuts of 9.7 million BPD through July. It also called on members that have not been complying to make up commitments with extra cuts later. Iraq, which had one of the worst compliance rates among the major producers, has already made deep cuts to its crude supplies to Asia in July. U.S. shale producers are also reducing drilling in response to the collapse in oil demand.
We now bring you Ghana's power supply statistics.
Hydro energy generated in the past 24 hours, Akonsombo recorded 11.5630 gigawatt hours, Pong 2.4060 gigawatt hours, and Bui
a major breakthrough in the fight against the deadly virus. The drug is part of the world's biggest trial testing of resistant treatments to see if they also work for coronavirus. It's cut the risk of death by a third for patients on ventilators. For those on oxygen, it's cut deaths by a fifth. Researchers say if the drug had been used to treat patients in the UK from the start of the pandemic, up to 5,000 lives could have been saved. and it could be of huge benefit in poorer countries with high numbers of COVID-19 patients. The UK government has 200,000 courses of the drug in its stockpile and said the NHS will make dexamethasone available to patients. And Botswana has lifted a lockdown on its capital Gaborone after most of the latest reported cases of coronavirus turned negative. The Southern Africa country emerged from an extreme lockdown on May 21st, but restrictions were reinstated in the capital last Friday after new cases were reported.
The ministry says 10 out of 16 suspected new cases are tested negative. The remaining 6 cases are awaiting confirmatory results. The cases were detected at a private hospital and the government laboratory. Meanwhile, Guinea's President Alpha Condé has announced easing of some restrictions intended to prevent the spread of coronavirus. In an address to the nation on Monday, the president said places of worship will reopen from June 28 in areas where infections have not been reported. Students scheduled to sit for exams and those in universities will resume learning on June 29. In Tanzania, President John Magufuli has ordered schools at all levels to reopen on June 29. He also ordered a return to normalcy of all social and economic activities that had been stopped by coronavirus restrictions.
A club that will be a reference point in Africa as ND often. Togbia Fede says the Rainbow Club will soon be competitive in Africa's inter-club competitions.
Some of the things that I want to do for Accra folk, I'm telling you without any attempt to really exaggerate. Okay. And I'll do it without any apologies, or I won't be ashamed to say it. Okay. And I won't fear to say it. The whole objective is to make Accra folk the preeminent club in Africa. We want to build a club that becomes a reference point across the continent in terms of what a modern club should look like. Personally, I don't like the idea of players leaving Accra folk and going to Sudan, or going to Guinea, or going to Congo. Why should it be? We want to compete with all the others, and we want to really be the magnet that will attract players from across the continent. Yeah. So we want to make Accra folk the preeminent club, where preeminence, of course, is not just about name. It's about winning trophies at that level. Okay? Having organizational structures and systems that are admired. Okay? Having facilities that are celebrated. Basically, that's what we want to be. And it's unfortunate. It's not been an easy journey, because in today's world, image is very important. Okay? The tragedy for Accra has been that while we try to do the right things, there were people out there who tried to spread negativity. A lot of them concocted. It is not good for the club. It's not easy to build in an environment like that. The good news is that many are becoming appreciative of what we've been trying to do. So you bear with me, the noise has gone down. And it will go down further.
We'll bring you more on this particular interview with Kobna Ibwa in our subsequent bulletins. That's all for sports.
Through royalties and performances within the country or abroad, but most of them have been compelled to stay in the country due to the COVID-19 restrictions.
The High Life is Alive fan club was founded a year ago to promote high life music in Ghana and beyond. Also high on the agenda of the club is to reap up interest of the youth in high life as a national identity. Speaking to the founder of the club, who is also a disc jockey on GBC Unique FM, said COVID-19 has affected the entertainment industry because a lot of programs have been put on hold.
Everybody at all can be part of it. Once you are a Ghanaian and you understand that yes, we have something that is ours, that we need not to wait for someone to come and project it for us, but then we can do it by ourselves. Why not? I mean, you are the liberty to, come and be part of this wonderful fan club of ours.
A former Director General of GBC and the chairman for the High Life is Alive fan club, Mr. George Aye, said many foreign musicians came to Ghana to learn high life music and now claiming that they are the originators of the genre. Mr. Aye said the time has come for high life music to be taught at the higher level of education instead of classical music.
What we need to do is to bridge the gap seriously and then come up with curriculum. And another thing too, in the tertiary institutions, most of them are teaching what music they teach is classical music, not high life music or indigenous music.
An executive member of the club, Dr. VVV Frimpong, said high life music is part of Ghanaian culture which needs to be revived through performances.
Singing high life music is the only music that unites us as a people. So it's my belief that we shouldn't let it die.
High life legends including Jeduble Ambule, Pat Thomas and Pozo Hayes stressed that COVID-19 has affected them negatively and appealed to government to extend a hand to them.
We need the government's assistance because that's what we do for a living.
Because of this virus, nothing is happening. I can go.
Places around Hope, Koforidua, Kumasi, Takoradi and its environs, with temperatures over these areas ranging between 22 degrees Celsius and 24 degrees Celsius. But for the northern part of the country, we expect to have cloudy conditions with a possibility of rains over Tamale, Yendi and its surroundings. Temperatures over the north will range between 23 degrees Celsius and 24 over Tamale, Bolgatanga and its environs. Tomorrow in the morning, we expect to have cloudy conditions over most areas in the country with some misty conditions over the forested and hilly areas of southern Ghana, Kumasi, Koforidua and its environs, with a possibility of rains over the west coast of the country, Takoradi and its surroundings. But we expect this to give way to partly cloudy conditions for most areas in the country with sunny intervals as the day goes on. In the northern part of the country, we expect maximum temperatures to be around 34 degrees Celsius over Tamale, Bolgatanga and its environs, with Wa and Bole having 33 degrees Celsius. But for the southern half of the country, we expect to have partly cloudy conditions with sunny intervals and temperatures ranging between 32 degrees Celsius and 33 over Kitikache, Kentampo and its environs. But later in the afternoon, we expect to have thunderstorms and rains over the northwestern portions of the country, Walora and its environs. And for the southern half of the country, we expect some rains over Ho, Takoradi and its surroundings. That's for the weather forecast.
And we'll quickly run you through the main news before we take leave of you. On Tuesday, the Electoral Commission met with Parliament's Special Budget Committee on its preparedness towards the 2020 elections.
Ghana has commemorated African Union Day of the African Child with a commitment of access to a child-friendly justice system.
And a low-dose steroid treatment, dexamethasone, has been identified as the first low-dose life-saving drug for the coronavirus. Thank you for watching the news.
Remember, keep safe. We'll see you again.